You and I have both experienced that pain. You strive for your justice, and I strive for mine.
And what's going on, Read My Lips people? We are back. Back like we ain't never left, baby. So, what's on the agenda today? Well, the first thing I'm going to talk about is something that Yang tweeted out and gave some input on this conversation. And I just thought I'd delve into said conversation and talk about what he tweeted out. And what it was that landlords are bracing for a wave of rent defaults.
We just need the rent to be gone if we can't work.
We can't work, we can't pay.
Renters line the streets and circle in cars, calling this rent strike. It's the first day of the month and nearly $50 billion in rent is due in the U.S.
If a lot of us are already choosing between food and rent, we're saying to choose food?
Across the country, rage rising with job losses climbing. Renters have been sharing warning letters from landlords online. One warns rent is due on the 1st, nothing has changed. One extends a rent deadline only until April 10th, and this one stresses rent is still due. If you've been laid off, it adds, places are hiring, like grocery stores, Amazon, Walmart, and more. Renters are fighting back, from this Los Angeles protest to signs of resistance posted across the Midwest, from Chicago to Brooklyn, New York, to New Orleans, pledging to not pay. Los Angeles and New York mayors issued no eviction orders, but renters say that's not enough.
If we can't pay that rent and we're in debt, how are we supposed to get out of that debt post-quarantine?
Did you lose your job?
Yes, all of us lost our job.
Because of coronavirus, says Shawana Anthony. She used to make enough at Restaurant Rosa Mexicano to cover her Los Angeles apartment rent.
Check out my little 500 square feet, $1,100 a month.
How are you going to pay this $1,100 rent?
I don't know. When you're scared, you don't see nothing but fear. So those people, they don't have nothing else but a sign in their car.
These rent strikers, you feel for them.
Oh, absolutely. 20 years ago, it would have been me.
But today, Matthew Heisert sits on the other side as a landlord. He is working with his tenants, but can only do so much.
I have no ability to handle this beyond a couple of months.
His family started out in a small condo just before the 2008 mortgage crisis, which left them $70,000 underwater. Unable to sell, but able to rent the condo, they're still climbing out of the red.
Someone loses their job. They can no longer afford to pay rent. Follow it through. If I can't pay that mortgage and I have to pay that mortgage at some point, well, that could bankrupt me.
And as you know, on this channel, a numerous amount of times, I said what we needed was a rent freeze and a mortgage freeze until this was all over. They still haven't added that in the stimulus bill. I know as far as Connecticut goes, and this isn't everywhere, they have not a utility freeze because you're still getting billed. Literally, the bill is still piling up, but they can't shut you off, okay? So during this time, they can't shut you off, but trust and believe your bills are still accumulating. So what we've been advocating for is rent freeze, a hold on utilities, and things along those lines. And look, if you're in the camp that it sounds like well wishes and heart stars and horseshoes and it's not something that can happen, trust me, it can. Other places have done it. For some reason, the U.S. is just hard-headed, okay? But let's get into this. Let's delve into this. So landlords are bracing for a wave of rent defaults. Landlords across the country are anticipating fewer people will be able to pay rent in May than in April, but they are even more worried about what comes in the months after. And so I'm going to pause there for a second because what a lot of people are failing to understand is that things won't be the same, maybe ever. But there's definitely not going to be a semblance of normalcy for quite a long time. So even after everyone's fully going back to work, even after all the states are going back to work, there's still a recovery period. People are having to recoup from being broke. They're already broke. So they're having to recoup from being broke. And, you know, I'm pretty sure, I forget how long, maybe is it July? Maybe July. But, you know, they can't evict anyone until a certain amount of time and things like that. They put in some clauses, but it's going to take people quite a while to get back to a sense of normalcy where they were barely able to pay their bills before. And a lot of people are just going to have to default on their rent. They're going to have to make choices. People are going to end up making choices. And quite a lot of people are going to have to default on their rent. Mind you, they sent us one stimulus check, which either people didn't get it or they got it and it's gone. So, you know, the landlords see this. They see this. By the last week of April, rent payments were not too far off from historical averages, according to the National Multifamily Housing Council. By then, 92% of the market rate rental households that the council tracks made full or partial payments, compared with 95% who paid by the same time in March, before coronavirus started shutting down businesses across the U.S. But with nearly 20% of the labor force claiming unemployment since mid-March, the ability of many people to pay their rent is fraying. In cities like New York, Chicago, Detroit, and Oakland, tenant right groups have already called for rent strikes, demanding the cancellation of rent during the crisis. These people shouldn't have to strike. The government should have handled that. And I think Yang tweeted something. I'm pretty sure he tweeted it. If I can find it again, it's going to be on screen somewhere. And he was saying the government should be paying the rent. The government should be covering the rent. Because I know a lot of people are going to be in the comment section and say, hey, look, the landlords have bills to pay too. And that's why you need to hit everything. You can't do this half-ass. Both feet in. You have to do everything all around so everyone's covered. That means the tenants, that means the landlords, everyone. They know this. You know this, I know this, they know this. But they're playing patty cake over here and pretending like everything's all hunky-dory. And 4 bills have been passed and they only paid us once. And they didn't put a rent freeze, they didn't put a UBI, and they didn't do the hazard pay. So much idiocracy, it's almost unbelievable. Let's continue. Renters might have had an initial safety net to pay in April. Now, with the increase in unemployment claims and stimulus money that may not have arrived yet, we are bracing for a far larger non-payment rate in May. With more than 43 million rental households in the U.S., landlords are increasingly aware of their tenants' uncertain financial security and with it, their own. Some landlords have had their own mortgage payments to make or have building staff, maintenance workers, and management companies who are now essential workers and still need to be paid. State and local governments will be relying on them to pay property taxes, and buildings may now have increased costs with more cleaning or health considerations due to the virus. The key for landlords is to be flexible. They should reach out to tenants and make that connection with residents. They are in it together and they have a common interest. Landlords who can afford to should offer tenants relief through payment plans or reductions in rent. People are trying to do what they can to accommodate tenants, but it's unclear what they can afford. For example, a landlord may set up a payment plan that allows the tenant rent relief for a few months if they sign up for another year lease. Back rent is spread over 18 months. But even when the economy is up and running, 3 or 4 months of rent payments spread out over several months will still be challenging for people to pay. In the meantime, as eviction moratoriums that put the process of removing a tenant on pause are starting to be lifted, the housing lawyers are urging landlords to remain calm. We're telling landlords to just hold tight. We are highlighting the public health issue of needing shelter to shelter in place. It will be difficult for landlords to fill their vacancies right now anyways. They need to hold tight and see what relief money might be coming. Many landlords and property owners are looking with concern towards August. By July 31st, the majority of eviction moratoriums will have expired, and the $600 supplemental payment to the unemployment benefits is set to end. When that money runs out, we can't expect all these lost jobs to be back by August. We need to prioritize emergency rental assistance through a federal program where the assistance goes to the landlord and credits the tenant for payment. Brilliant. May will be a pivotal month for rent payments and also the financial viability of the rental industry. So, yeah, I just found this quite interesting because, again, it ties back to what I was talking about as far as the rent should be on hold and you need to accommodate, the landlords. But the question is, are they going to do it?
No.
They are so incredibly desperate to get us back to work. Not everyone, but most people. But they are so incredibly desperate to get us back to work. They don't want to send us any more money. I know for a fact they don't. Even the thought of giving us one more payment is pissing them off. And there's going to be, there's some people that's going to say, there's no more money. We don't got any more money. Wrong. Look, if it's something they want to do, they always come up with the money. No questions asked. Always. No, please, nobody say they don't have any money left. They just gave $5 trillion to Boeing and all these places and blah, 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 blah. You're right. You're 100% right. But when it's something they want to do, they always come up with the money. Always. It never fails. If this was something they wanted to do, if it was in their benefit, they would come up with the money. Okay? They don't want to give us another payment. They want to send us back out there and, good luck. I mean, I had a conference call at my job today and, they're giving us estimates of when they think we'll be open again. And then they had some laws and rules and stuff like that to put in place that, to keep us safe. And at the end of the day, it's all jokes. It's all, BS. It's not really going to keep anybody safe. It's the facade of keeping somebody safe, but you're not really keeping anybody safe. And I think Kansas City is doing the 10-10-10 rule and stuff like that. Places are saying no more than 10 people in a building, 10 minutes at a time, and stuff like that. They're so desperate to get us back to work, so they don't have to do anything else for us. So, yeah, this was an interesting article. CNN Business covered it, actually. And it wasn't really, and what I liked about it is, they weren't picking a side. They weren't on the side of, renters. They weren't on the side of the landlords. They were pretty much pointing out this is an issue that needs to be addressed, which is fair. That's how these things should be. So what are your thoughts? What do you think about the rental situation? Are you going through a rental situation? How are you guys handling it? How are you guys handling, making the rent? Is your landlord working with you? I have a friend where the landlord's, working with them. And then I have, other friends where the landlord's like, yo, I want it. I need that. So, yeah, how's your situation going? I'm curious. Let me know in the comment section below. So, the other thing I wanted to get to was Andrew Yang did a quick take. And I believe quick take is associated with Bloomberg News. Let me know in the comment section if I'm right. I'm pretty sure it's with Bloomberg. And he was just spitting some real talk. Things he's been saying before, about the 10 years in 10 weeks kind of thing. I have a clip of him speaking with Quick Take. We're going to take a look at that, and we're going to come back.
We're in a crisis. We've gone through 10 years of change in the equivalent of 10 weeks. I thought universal basic income was a good idea in the absence of this crisis, but it's more urgent than ever. It's literally life or death. First thing I would say is like, look, you do not need to worry about your material needs, putting food on the table. We're going to distribute money to everyone, and you don't even need to pay your bills. There are many Americans who are in position of desperation right now, but they made a lot of money last year. And I was talking to a restaurateur who like looked good on paper, but she is broke because her restaurant obviously shut down. And the fact is we could have just given it to everyone and then just taken it back in next year's tax returns if we felt like it. I would be reversing the scales where instead of like the vast majority going to big businesses, I would say the vast majority should be going to people. And I would make it as universal as possible, even beyond certainly any level of income, but even whether or not you filed a tax return. If we can find you, we should be giving you enough money to get by.
If we move into this universal push for tracing the virus, how will that impact user privacy, not only now, but moving past the pandemic?
This is a very big problem and issue. And if you're going to reopen any part of the economy and you're going to do it, you would need to have some robust tech tracing and tracking tools. And those things run afoul of what most of us regard as like our privacy rights, because it's like, I don't want you to know if I go to the freaking grocery store. So this is the massive trade-off we need to make. When Joe wins, if he taps me for a high impact position in his administration, I'd obviously be very open to it. I'm passionate about many issues that I ran on, like one's obviously universal basic income, but another one is the impact of technology on our way of life. I think that our government has been decades behind the curve on many technology issues. And if there's something I can do to help accelerate our government, I would. I need to help. If you have the capacity to help right now, you need to help. And thanks to the folks who've supported me, I feel like I'm in that category. Step up, come together, help your fellow Americans, because everyone needs it right now. And this crisis is a very, very challenging time, but it's going to show what we're made of. And I hope that we can show that in a very, very positive way.
Okay, so everything he was saying in there, spot on, relevant, and truthful. But what I really wanted to get to was, have you noticed that since Yang has suspended his campaign, he is never not getting an interview? They're on his ass. Have you guys noticed that? Everyone wants to talk to Yang. Everyone wants his input. Everyone wants his opinion. They are on his ass. If they gave him this same treatment when he was actually running as they're giving him now, he'd be our nominee. And he'd be defeating Donald Trump hands down, easily. The mental capacity, the gap between the two of them is astronomical. So, yeah, that's, what he said on this quick take, I dig. I'm pretty sure a lot of us has heard it before. But I just wanted to really point out that Andrew Yang is getting a lot of notoriety right now. A lot. To the point where some people are saying he should unsuspend his campaign right now. Andrew Yang should unsuspend his campaign. I don't think he's going to unsuspend his campaign. It's not happening. Even if, and there people brought up, what if, more accusations come out against Biden, or the Terry thing moves further, and he is no longer the presumptive nominee, where they're like, you can't go up against Trump like this. Should he unsuspend his campaign? A lot of us would want him to, but I still don't think he'd unsuspend his campaign. It would probably shift to Bernie Sanders, who was number 2, and Yang would probably give his endorsement to Bernie. I really don't think he'd unsuspend his campaign at this point. I think he has other things on his mind to help us get to where we want, and he will run in 2024. But I look, one can dream though, right? One can dream. But he's getting a lot of notoriety. I dig it. I dig it. So look, nothing too crazy today, guys. Nothing too crazy. I just wanted to bring you that about rent. And please let me know in the comment section how you guys are handling that. And also, are you surprised that Yang is getting so much attention on him this time around, suddenly after he suspended his campaign? And have you guys noticed that? So, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, please like, comment, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Just hip thrust that like button. If you don't, let me know in the comment section why. I'm always down to talk about it. I have a Cash App, a PayPal, and a Venmo link in the description below. Please feel free to donate to the channel. Every little bit helps. Hopefully I'll be talking to you guys soon. Have a good one. Peace.